Hello, this is Robert Breaker, missionary evangelist to the Spanish-speaking people. I am a King James Bible-believing independent Baptist. And today I'd like to talk to you, maybe give you a little bit of testimony about the Spanish Bible issue and how I got involved and what the Lord has showed me, and which Bible I believe is the right Bible in Spanish, the purest Word of God in the Spanish language that you need to use to get out to other people. Now obviously you can make your own decision. I'm not telling you what to do in any way, shape, or form. I'm only interested in giving you the facts. And I hope to give you the facts today as I give you a testimony about the Spanish Bible. When I started, I was born again on July 29th, 1992. And it wasn't long after that that the Lord called me to the Spanish-speaking people. When I started and I went to the mission field, I did what most people do. I bought a 1960 and a King James bilingual version. As I was on the field for 3 months the first time, I read through, in my survey trip, I read through the whole New Testament. And I found that the 1960 Spanish Bible does not read with my King James. I later found out that the 1960 relied heavily upon the RSV in Spanish. And you can, pause this right here and read it as you like to. But this is a quote of one of the people who worked on the 1960 Spanish Bible, and it shows how they relied heavily upon critical text versions of the Bible, the RSV, and other versions. As the Lord showed me some things, I began to question things. And I knew I could not use the 1960 Spanish Bible that in one verse leaves Jesus Christ in the grave. That in another verse takes out the fact that baptism in water is just a figure of salvation. A version that calls Jesus Christ a sinner. So I began to ask questions. I began to study. And another missionary told me about the old 1909 Spanish Bible. And he said, it's better, you should use it. And I began to read my Bible, my King James, comparing it with the 60 and the 1909. I found that the 1909 was better, but it was not perfect. It had critical text readings. Luckily, as I went to the Honduran Bible Society bookstore, I was able to find a facsimile of the original 1569 Spanish Bible of Casiodoro de Reina, and also of the 1602 revision of that Bible by Cipriano de Valera. And as I studied the New Testament, I found that when the 1960 was wrong, usually the 1909 was better. When it was wrong also, these two read closer to the King James Bible. So I began to say, what is the problem? What is the deal? And I began to study more. I came across some people that had all sorts of answers, but most of them used the 1960. Many of them said, well, don't tell the Spanish people anything. It'll just confuse them. Well, God is not the author of confusion. We're supposed to speak the truth because the truth will set you free. So I wrote a book about the history of the Spanish Bible, and I put in there my findings, hoping that people would want the truth. What I found was a bunch of independent Baptists that would rather use an RSV-type Bible in Spanish than to suffer for the Word of God and find a pure version for the people that they were supposed to be going to. I came across some other people that said that the right Bible in Spanish was the 1865. And they began to put out the 1865 Spanish Bible. And as they put it out, I began to study it. I got a copy, and I found there were a lot of mistakes in it. And in my book, I wrote some of the mistakes, critical text readings, errors in the 1865 Spanish Bible. And those that put out the 1865 made a new version where they changed 50 verses in the 1865 Spanish Bible. And they changed 50 verses. Well, they later changed them back because they wanted to defend the 1865 so strongly. I'm telling you, the 1865 has problems, and it's not perfect. I'm sorry if that offends you, but it's the truth. Look at this right here. This is the 1865. This is the 1865 that I first had, the Millennium Edition. Look how you spell edition in Spanish. It's edición. Here's the 1865 bilingual edition. And I told you the 1865 has mistakes. Here's a mistake on the front spine. They spelled the word edition wrong in the 1865 Spanish Bible. I knew the 1865 wasn't the Word of God in Spanish, and I began to pray, and God brought me the 1602 purified Spanish Bible, the pure Word of God in Spanish. It first came out as just the New Testament. It was called the 1602 TR, or Textus Receptus. Now it's available in a whole Bible, and it is the purest Word of God in Spanish. Well, after this version came out, then came along a man named Gomez, and he put out his own version of the Bible, his own New Testament. And as I went through this Gomez Bible, I got a copy of the first edition, and I began to read through the Gomez Bible, and I was shocked at what I found in the Gomez Bible. it was amazing to me how someone could come along and change so many things in the Bible recklessly. And there are some things in the Gomez Bible that are just horrible. That are just horrible. Let me show you just one verse. This is the first edition, and in defense of the Gomez, thank God they changed it later on and made it better. But this is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 36. The context here is talking about, if any man behaveth himself uncomely towards his virgin, let them marry. Look at this. You don't even have to know Spanish. Look at these two words. Hija virgen. Hija virgen. Right here. Mr. Gomez changed that passage to read, if any man behaveth himself uncomely towards his virgin daughter, let them marry. Folks, that's incest. Now, there were a lot of mistakes and errors in the Gomez Bible. Now it's in its 5th edition. It's no longer called the RVG or the Reina Valera Gomez 2004. Now it's called the Reina Valera Gomez 2010. And thank God they made a lot of changes, but what they have is modern Spanish that reads closer to the 1960 than, and even closer to the NIV, as I've gone through in my studies and read verse by verse. Folks, we have a King James Bible that came from the greatest time in history of the Protestant Reformation with the right text. And it's Old English, Elizabethan English. If you want something like that in Spanish, you need to go to Reina Valera, Old Castilian Spanish. And you need a Bible that's been purified, because their old versions had mistakes with the correct text. And what you have is the Valera 1602 Purified that has done that. 15 years of study and prayer and fasting to get a pure Bible. These Bibles are still out there. A lot of people won't tell you about the Purified. There are many men out there that have their own motive and their own desire to push their own version for fame, for fortune. I don't know what it's for. This isn't my version. This is the purest Word of God in Spanish. It's done by a church in Monterrey, Mexico, to give the Spanish-speaking people the pure Word of God in Spanish. For more information, please go to Robert Breaker, to www.rrb3.com, which is my website, to find out more. A lot more information. I've written, as I said, several books about the Spanish Bible issue, the history and truth of the Spanish Bible issue in English and in Spanish. Also, history and truth about the Gomez, and the history and truth about the Spanish Bible controversy. These are available to anyone who would like them. On the website, they are free. And we want people to get the truth about the Spanish Bible issue, because Spanish people need a pure Bible in their language. Thank you very much, and God bless you. 7 minutes and 53 seconds.